The purpose of this video is to teach you how to accurately round numbers. So first though, I'd like you to put your note sheet to the side and I'd like to have a conversation about place value. So if we have this value here, $1.34, let's actually look at it. So we have $1.34. So what happens is in place value, the 1 is the whole number. The first number to the left is the first whole. So we have a whole dollar. So if you think of money, that helps. So this is the whole number because it is our ones place. It's how many ones we have if we were thinking about money. And then the 3 is the tenths place. So if you think about it, this is how many dimes you would have if you were doing money. So 10 cents, dimes, we have 3 dimes, tenths. And then the 4, well, how many pennies are in a dollar? Well, the 4 then is the hundredths place because there are 4 pennies in this situation, but a total of 100 pennies in a dollar. So money really helps us with place value. Now, when we're rounding, we think about, is this almost halfway to $2? Well, no, because 3 is less than 5. So if it's less than 5, you say, if we were going to round to the nearest whole number, well, the nearest whole number would just be $1 then. The closest you are is $1 based on this. However, if we have $1.54, well, first, before we talk about this, what does the 1 stand for in place value? What does the 5 stand for in place value? And what does the 4 stand for in place value? This is the whole number, the ones place. This is the tenths place. And this is the hundredths place. Okay, so now though, if we have, let's make sure this actually matches, 54 cents. So are we less than halfway to $2 or are we over halfway to $2? Well, because 50 cents is halfway, 54 is over halfway, and we count 5 or bigger as over halfway. So if we are rounding to the nearest whole number on this one, we would say you're closer to having $2 than you are to only having $1. So this change would bump up to, you're closer to $2 than $1. So that's my money example. Now let's actually write some of these things on your notes. Okay, so we're looking at place value and it says used the most often. So the ones we will be dealing with the most often, so I don't want you to write all of them, I just want you to write the ones I'm going to write, is we're going to be dealing with the ones place. Okay, a 1 there, ones. We'll be dealing with the tenths place. I would like you to write how to spell it without the numbers, so tenths. And then the 6, where it represents pennies, would be the hundredths place. And let's also make a note that the ones place is the whole, a whole number. So when we're asked to round, that represents the whole number. Okay, so let's look at example 1. We're going to round 52.73 to the nearest whole number. For note's sake, I'm going to highlight whole number. And I would like you to rewrite the original problem large. So 52, so you write it large, 0.73. Now we need to find what number is the whole number. Well, the 2 is the ones place, which is the whole number. So let's highlight that. And then we have our decimal, which separates us from the pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line here because everything to the right of the line is going to become 0. And then we're deciding, does the 2 round up to a 3 or does it stay a 2? So I'm going to put a little star here next to the 7 because the 7, we're going to use that information. So we have 5 staying the same. We're deciding if the 2 is going to stay a 2 or round up. So you're thinking about, is 7 more than halfway? So it's going to bump to 3, or is it less than halfway? And then at the bottom of your notes, you'll also have this. So 7 is more than halfway. So that means that 2 is going to change into a 3, and then everything else becomes zeros past the line we marked. And then therefore, this is 53. We don't need the zeros because they're not part of the whole number. Example 2. We're going to be rounding to the nearest tenths place. So please rewrite the number large. Oh, and to emphasize this also, actually, back on example 1, I want you to turn your paper sideways. I want you to write ones, tenths, hundredths. Okay, 1, 10, 100. So that way you can remember your place value easier. So back to this one. We're going to do that with this number. 400.815. Okay, so we're going to the nearest tenths place. So let's highlight that. Oh, we're not sure which one's the tenths place. So we're going to turn our paper to the side. And remember, the whole number is always the first number to the left of the decimal. So this is the ones place. This is the tenths place. And this is the hundredths place. Okay, so we're going to be rounding to the nearest tenths place. So let's highlight the 8 because the 8 is in the tenths place. That means everything past the 8 is going to turn into a 0 when we're done rounding. So we're going to draw a line to separate that. So what we're doing is the 400 will stay the same. And then we're deciding, is the 8 going to round up to a 9 or is it going to stay an 8? So we're going to use this 1, put a little star, as our information. Well, is 1 less than halfway or halfway or more? So we could always refer down here. Well, 1 is way less than halfway, so that means we're leaving the number alone. So it stays an 8, and the rest of these become 0, and therefore we have 400.8. So that's what this has rounded to. Okay, example 3. We're going to be rounding to the nearest hundredths place. And I want you to rewrite the number large, 9.726. And then let's go ahead and label everything. So I'm going to turn this sideways. This is the ones, the tenths, and the hundredths. The 6 is the thousandths place, but we don't round to that as much, so we're not going to worry about that in this video. So now we are rounding to the nearest hundredths place. That would be the 2. So we're going to draw a line after the 2 because everything past the 2 is going to become a 0. And then we're using the 6 to determine, is the 2 going to stay a 2 or is it going to round up? So therefore, it's going to be 9.7, and then we're deciding, will the 2 go up or will it stay the same? So if we go down here, the 6 is what we're using to determine that. Well, 6 is over halfway, so therefore this rounds up to a 3. There's no 0. Actually, the 6, would become a 0. And then our final answer would be 9.73. Okay, down to example 4. Let's go ahead and highlight. We are rounding to the nearest tenths place. And let's rewrite the number. I'm going to zoom out for a moment so I can hold this easier. 4.971. Okay, we're turning our paper and we're labeling. The 4 is the ones, the 9 is the tenths, and the 7 is the hundredths place. So therefore we are rounding to the tenths place, that's the 9. And drawing our line, everything after the 9 will become a 0. And we are looking at the 7 to determine what the 9 will either stay or change to. So the 4 will stay this. Oh, I was about to say the 4 will stay the same. Well, let's write that because in most cases the 4 will stay the same. However, in this one, 7 is over halfway, meaning it needs to go up. But 9, the only way to go up is to become a 10. So I'm going to put the 1 here because you actually have to add the 1 to the 4. And the 7 and the 1 became 0, so I'm going to put the zeros. So we have the 9 becomes a 10, 1 plus 4, this rounds up to 5, technically dollars if you think of money. Okay, so we had $4.97 with a little extra, and that is over halfway. I put 5.0 because it said the nearest tenths place, and this is the tenths place. Okay, please flip to the back of your note sheet and you'll notice you're going to do 5 problems on the back here that you're going to try. But I intentionally didn't put the problems on the back because I want you to look at the screen and then show work in these boxes to try the problems. So for example, I'm going to show you this problem, problem number 1, is round 85.639 to the nearest tenths place. So on your sheet here, okay, on your note sheet, you should be writing the problem. So we have 85.639, and then it says nearest tenths place. So you want to do the strategies we tried, label the problem, and then round to the nearest tenths place, and then you'll check your work. So I'm not going to show you this sheet anymore because I want you trying the problem. The answer is 85.6. If you got it correct, nice work. If you didn't, please fix any mistakes before you move on to number 2. Number 2, round 281.705 to the nearest whole number. Okay, so that's the work, and the answer is 282. Number 3, round 62.589 to the nearest hundredths place. The answer is 62.59. If you made a mistake, please check your work. Number 4, round 2.406 to the nearest whole number. The answer is 2. Last one, number 5, round 19.72 to the nearest whole number. And the answer is 20. So you'll notice on this one, I started to write 19, but then that 9 has to change to a 10. You add a 1, and so 19 rounds up to 20.